Buongiorno and welcome. It's only a few days before Halloween, and like every year we'll be making a pumpkin, but I will be doing it over a couple of days. Today I'll be carving my pumpkin and I'll share with you what I do, and also I'll share a template if you want to use it. And tomorrow I will be using some of the pumpkin to make some delicious ravioli with pumpkin and ricotta. And I'll just make a start and I'll show you the pumpkin we purchased. And here's my pumpkin, and I liked him because it's got this little indentation, and I think he looks a little bit more like a scar, which is going to make it even spookier. He measures approximately 25 centimeters in width and the same actually in height, so I'll give you an idea of the size pumpkin I'll be carving today. Every year Julie and I have a little debate on what is our pumpkin going to look like this year, and last night we spent a little time on the internet looking at pictures. And we both spotted this one and we thought it looked lovely. It's a little bit scary but a little bit friendly, so we're gonna go for this one. And this morning I made a little template to fit the size pumpkin I've got, and I will be scanning this on my printer, and I will upload it on the description. And if you want to download it, by all means do so. It's free, and you can then adapt it and resize it depending on the size pumpkin you have got. Now next is very important, we need to give him a name, and we do give names to most things in our house, and we thought that he looks like a George. If you look at him here, I'll show him again. See, he's got that Georgie looking about him, so he's going to be a George. And to personalize the template even more, I'll write it down who he's from. I will go and scan this so that it's ready for the upload, and then I'll crack on with the carving. Great, technology dealt with. I'm back and we can crack on now, and I'll place my template on top of my pumpkin, on top of this indentation in my case, and I will leave a good inch or maybe even more from the bottom so that I got some space afterwards, and I think something like this is fine. It looks perfect. I've got some sellotape, and I will tape one side, and I'll do the same on the other side. And to ensure that it stays steady, I'll put some at the bottom as well. And that is a good start. Now, I've got a few tools available here, and I'll try all of them. I've got a screwdriver, I've got a Stanley knife, a couple of knives, a fork, and also a couple of skewers. And the purpose, of course, is to trace through the paper to ensure that I can replicate my template on my pumpkin. And I'm starting with a wooden skewer to see how it goes, but I'll try all of them. Not bad, seems to work well. Try with a screwdriver next. Actually, I'm finding that the screwdriver is slightly easier, as I can get hold of the handle and I can apply better pressure. So at the moment the screwdriver is in the lead. I'll go for the forks next, and I'm not getting on well with the fork. I can only do one at a time anyway, and it's a little bit, no, I will not use the fork. Try with the knife next. I'm not sure really, because I can touch the blade and not keen, but yeah, it's working quite well, but I think it's a little bit unnecessary, as it's a little bit more dangerous. So go back to the screwdriver. Small screwdriver, ideal tool. And I'll carry on and I'll work my way around until I have pierced the paper wherever there is my black marker, and I'll see you in a few minutes. Right, I'm nearly done, and do not forget the eyes, otherwise poor George won't be able to see. I'm going to now remove the tape and see what we have. Oh, there it is. It's looking scary already. Now, if we take a look at the picture, the only area where I need to go all the way through is in this part of the mouth. So I'm going to be using the knife first, and I'll gently start, obviously make sure that your hand is well away from the blade, and I'll go all the way. Move it out, move on to the next part. And so on until I've finished the entire perimeter. And I see it's done. I can see that everything is dislodged, and I'm ready to move on. And I'll remove the cap next so that we can do some cleaning up. So I'll get hold of something round. In my case I'm using a bowl, but you can use anything, a plate or even a pot if you like. And I'll mark the outside. And I'm going to use a steak knife for this, but I will go on an angle so that the cap can come on and off. So I'll put it in, and if you look, I'm on an angle, and hand out of the way, and I'll start going around using my line. I find that the easiest way to keep also safe is to turn the pumpkin, and then you will find that it's considerably easier, but also your hand is always away from the blade. Perfect. Let's take a look inside. I think it's always fascinating when you open a pumpkin. It looks a bit like an overgrown jungle. Oh, wonderful. The next job is to tidy up inside first. So all of the seeds and all of this ropey looking stuff need to come out and go in the bin, of course. And I'm now starting to remove from the inside and tidying it up. Don't forget also to tidy up the head so that you don't end up with all of this mess on top. By the way, I meant to say, pumpkins are quite slimy, so if you don't like the feel of sliminess in your fingers, I don't, but I've grown up to accept it. Just put some gloves on, you will be fine. But I'm nearly there now. Great, so all of the seeds and the stuff is out and I can continue now. But before I continue with George, I want to think about tomorrow night's dinner. And I'm going to be carving some of the pumpkin out so that I can reserve it for tomorrow. The pumpkin is a good 1.5 inches, so I don't think George will mind if I pinch some of the pumpkin. And I'll start with a knife and see how it goes first. So I've scored the top as much as I can, and I'm now going inside and I'm scoring some lines going from the bottom up, but again making sure that my hand is well out of the way. And I can safely apply some pressure because it's very thick, so I don't think there is any danger of me going through. And I'll carry on. I'll go all the way around a couple of times so that I weaken the structure so that hopefully I'll be able to take it off easily. And I'll go on back on the top and I'll carry on to see what can come out. I suppose you might think that it would be easier to buy another pumpkin and just use that for cooking purposes, but I don't like wasting things, so I want to make the most of it, so I'm going to use this one. Great, let's have a look. I'll go in with my spoon and start spooning it downwards. Oh, it's working. Perfect. Look at that pumpkin. Do you know what pumpkin is called in Italian? It's called zucca, which is a similar word to zucchini, because they're part of the same family. Z-U-C-C-A. There you go, something you've learned today. And I think I've got enough for, most probably far more than what I need for tomorrow. Also, I have made sure that the base here is nice and flat, so that when I put my tea light, it will stay nice and horizontal. And I'll put the lid on this and it'll go in the fridge ready for tomorrow. This is the top of the pumpkin, and I'm going along with a knife, and as it is quite easy, I am slicing a few pieces. I might use them for something else tomorrow, we'll see. And I'm sure that George will not mind either. Quick tidy up and let's take a look. Does it fit okay? Should do really. There it is, it's wonderful, perfect. So back to George. Now we should be able to remove the mouth, no problem at all. Maybe if I push it down. Oh yes, easy. And the other side. Wonderful. There's a little piece left here. There you go. Oh, hello George. He's already got a very menacing look about him. I will use a Stanley knife next, which is going to be ideal I think for this job, but we'll only open it slightly, not fully, so that I can carve the outline of what is left and then start removing the front of the peel. Knowing that it will not go all the way through because it's only partly open, I'll just start and I'll do the eyes first. I think it's going to be slightly easier. And again, as you go through, turn the pumpkin so that your hand always stays at the same place, and hand always away from the blade, of course. And I'll move on to eye number 2. And that's done as well, and now we'll move on to the mouth, and wherever there is an outline from my screwdriver, I'll go in with the knife. So I'll see you in a little while. So I finished with the Stanley knife, and I'm now going back with a normal knife and start removing the peel from the top. I'm going to draw some lines in here to see if it's easier. I've got a teaspoon here, which might be the best tool for this job now. And I'll just carve the orange peel out. And I will repeat the same thing throughout the entire mouth and eyes until I'm done. So I'll see you in a few minutes. So having removed the outside peel, I can start giving George's teeth some proper definition next. And I'll start from over here actually. So this part, I'll take it off. And just like the picture, I'm now going back and making a gap in between each tooth. And actually the steak knife is better for this job. That will give him a very, very scary look. This front one here reminds me of Nanny McPhee. This one here. Oh, it's looking good. I'm not sure if I'll be able to carry on for much longer because I'm beginning to get a little bit scared. And I'll remove all of this. Perfect. Literally, make sure that you score it through and make a gap and then go underneath and push it with a knife. And it doesn't have to be just like George. You can use any shaped teeth you like, of course. I think George could do with going to the dentist, but just like I did with the eyes, I'm now going on each tooth and modeling it so that it's a little bit rounder and tidier. So I'll do that next. And I'm now smoothing all of the pumpkin, and I'm finding that actually using this part of the knife is much easier. Just go up and down and until you get a nice round definition and edges. Remember, the larger the gap between teeth, the scarier George will look, assuming a scary look is what you're after. And I'm almost there. I've just rinsed it under the tap so that I remove all of the fluff, and I'm now drying it with a cloth. And there is one more job left to do, the eyes. And that is why battery screwdrivers were invented, by the way, in case you're wondering. So I marked them early anyway, so I should be able to just gently go in and go for it. Oh, we're looking good. Perfect. Hello there, how are you doing? One final tidy up, and I think we're done. I've got a little tea light which I'll put in the middle now, and I will light it up. Cap goes on, and I'm going to lower the blinds, turn the lights off, and we will see how scary George really is. And I'm going to introduce George very slowly so that he can have his moment. There he is. Hello. It's a little bit light outside, but maybe nighttime would be better. But I'm very pleased with him. I think he looks quite scary, but also friendly at the same time. Wonderful. And I'm back in the world of the livings, and I'll see you tomorrow when I will be making some fresh ravioli stuffed with George and ricotta and most probably some sage, and we can finish the video. Arrivederci for now. Ciao. Welcome back, and I have been joined by Julie and a very special guest.
Yeah, here he is, Giorgino. Look at him, what a sweetie, look.
Julie came to see me this morning. She said, look what I found in the garden. She had grown another round courgette. So the first thing that came through my mind was, oh, I can make a little Giorgio or a little George. And so I made a little Giorgino, which actually the INO of Giorgino is because he's small. In Italy, anything with INO, like bambino, think of bambino, that means they're small. So it's a small little George. And I used a template, by the way, so I reduced it in size, so very useful. And I'm ready to make the fresh ravioli. This is dead simple, including the recipe for the pasta. I've got 200 grams of plain flour, so I will add it to a bowl. Tiny little pinch of salt, couple of eggs. That is 1 egg per 100 grams of flour, by the way, egg number 2. And a tiny little smidgen of olive oil, literally less than a teaspoon. Fork, spoon, or whatever you might have handy, and start mixing it together. As you mix it, gradually start capturing the flour from the edges until it becomes all one piece. So I've now reached a point where everything is very crumbly, so I'm not actually doing anything else with the fork, so I'll clean it up and I'll continue with my hands. And be patient, just continue until you get a nice smooth ball. It might take you a few minutes, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, but you will get there. And if you look, I've got no more flour left there, so I can now take it out and put it on my worktop. And I'll now continue kneading using the worktop.
A nice clean worktop, no less.
Of course. It's only a couple of 100 grams of flour, so it doesn't take very long anyway, but I've been kneading now for a good couple of minutes, and I've not even put any flour on here, so you can see that it's nice and smooth. So what I'll do, I'll make a little bowl. You can use the original bowl there, and I'll cover it so that it doesn't dry. And I'll leave it to rest for 20 to 30 minutes. Here is my pumpkin. I have baked 300 grams of pumpkin in the oven at a temperature of 200 degrees for 35 minutes. All I did, I just put some olive oil, baking paper, and left it. This is the slices from the top of the head. If you remember, I said I might have an idea about those tomorrow. I've actually done exactly the same, but I cooked them for 10 minutes less because they're slightly thinner. But I'll put this on one side for now. My pumpkin has cooled down, has been now out of the oven for a good 20 minutes, so it's safe to touch, so I'll put it in a bowl. And as I removed it with a spoon from George, I'm just removing the odd bit, which is slightly charcoaly. But I'm not too worried about it, because actually, if nothing else, we'll add a bit of a charcoaly flavour.
I can vouch for that. I've just eaten some.
Yes, so do I. It's very nice. The pumpkin is nice and soft, of course, and I'm now cutting it further with a fork and a knife. And I'm finding actually this is working very well. Some people put them in the food processor, but I think that becomes very, very sloppy and very liquidy, and I like to actually be able to feel the texture of the pumpkin when I eat my ravioli, so I'll carry on like this. If you fancy it smoother, just go back with a fork and it'll turn more into like baby food, most probably.
A puree.
The puree, yes. Parmesan cheese, I will add a couple of dessert spoons.
Big dessert spoons.
Nice and full, yes. Nutmeg, and I will be grating some on top of it. Now, how much nutmeg you put in is entirely up to you. I fully recommend you put some because it's a distinctive flavour in this dish, but I will be putting most probably a good third, but entirely up to you, depending how much you like it. But it will give a lovely and earthy flavour as well. And I'll stop. This is how much I've used from a brand new little nutmeg nut. And I'll mix everything together now. By the way, I'm not sure if I mentioned, this is the filling for the ravioli. And being that it's only Julie and I eating, I'm not making a lot, of course.
No, God forbid, we wouldn't want to eat much, would we?
No. You might have noticed that I did not add any salt, as the parmesan is quite salty anyway, but you can always add it at the end. However, I will add a little pepper now, so that that is done. And the very last ingredient to complete my filling is ricotta. So this is a tub of 250 grams. I used 300 grams of pumpkin, so I will use slightly half of these, 125 grams, and see how it goes. Assuming I can pick it up. There it goes. Of course, if you really like ricotta, you can put more of the entire tub, but I don't really want it to be too watery, so I think this is perfect. A little taste. Oh, good. Back to my pasta, and the two Georges are keeping me company. So it has been resting for a good 20 minutes now, so let's have a quick feel. And it's perfect actually, it feels nice and smooth still. So I'll cut this in half. While I work on one half, the other half goes back under cover. This will prevent from drying and getting all stale and hard. And I'll give this a little squash with my hands. Now I've got a pasta machine and I'm going to use a pasta machine. If you didn't have a pasta machine, you can always roll it and roll it as much as you can until you get something like 2 to 3 millimeters in thickness, but obviously you have to turn it around at times and use some flour and you will achieve pretty much the same outcome. I'll start my machine on the largest setting, which is number 1, and I'll feed it through. And I'll fold it, turn it around this way, and I'll feed it through a second time. Fold it one more time, turn it around, and that goes through for the third time. I'll turn this up by a notch to number 2, and I'll feed it, but every time I feed it now, only once. Number 3. Now my pasta is getting a little bit sticky, so I'm going to add a little flour on my worktop and on the pasta. And I'll carry on until I get the thickness I want. And I'm going to stop at number 5. And that is my second line finished as well. Now there are different ways on how you can do ravioli, so I'm going to show you a couple, the simplest way, but if you go different ways, by all means use your own, but this is what I do. So we've made a little batch as a tester, and I realized that I've been putting too much mixture in and they are a little bit too full, so I can now show you how to do them properly. And I'll be putting approximately half a teaspoon of my mixture on in my pasta, like so, ensuring that I leave enough of a gap between each raviolo. And then I'll fold my pasta in half. I'm going to do an initial little seal with my fork across the edges, and using the fork handle I'll just find the edge of each raviolo like this. Magic tool, and press it down. And repeat it for all of them. And here it is, a beautifully formed raviolo with ricotta and pumpkin from George. The ones which I overfilled, by the way, I'm going back with a fork just for belt and brace and going like this, so that I'll try and create a better seal. So hopefully they will not explode.
It's belt and braces, babe.
What did I say?
Belt and brace.
All right, okay, belt and brace.
Belt and braces.
Braces. What I'm going to do next is, if you don't have a tool like mine, I'll show you what you could do just using a fork. I'll make 4. I'll cut some for the top. I'll place it on top. Like before, I will push it down. Pizza slice.
Or knife, I guess.
Or a knife, yes. And just go in the middle, both sides. Tidy up the ends as well. And 2, 3, and 4. Remove all of the waste pasta. Fork. And just go along and press it down with the fork, and you will force it closed.
You can also make bigger ones. They're whoppers.
Yeah, you can make bigger ones.
They're
And
a bit more
actually,
like you get in a restaurant, aren't they?
and it looks quite elegant. So if you want to make elegant tortellinis, or sorry, ravioli, these are ravioli, not tortellini, this is a way you can do it. I'll finish these and I'll show you one more. So I've pretty much reached the bottom of the barrel with my mix anyway. But if you happen to go on eBay, you can also buy round ones. And I will do a few round ones just to show you what they look like. I think I've only got enough mix for 3. I'll fold my pasta in half as is very conveniently there. Perfect. And let's see what they look like. Feels like I'm printing money.
Is this a different type of pasta in this shape, made like this?
No, it's still called ravioli. It's just that ravioli, they come in different shape. The city in Italy where the speciality of ravioli comes from, I think, is Mantova. So if you Google it, Mantova, you will find different varieties of shapes and all sorts and recipes. But look, they look very nice. Look, they remind me actually of a little mince pie. We are getting close to Christmas after all.
Yeah. We've eaten our first box as well.
Okay.
I say we, more me.
So my water is boiling, pinch of salt, and my George and ricotta ravioli goes in. And I will actually be adding them one by one. By the way, do not be tempted to just throw them in, especially if they are homemade, otherwise they could break.
And then they'll get a bit stuck together, won't they?
They would, yes.
We've also put a little flour on the plate to stop them sticking together, so that would also go in, which you don't really want.
And that is my last one. 4 minutes, they should be ready. And I will be making a very simple and classic Italian sauce that goes with this dish, and it's just butter and sage and Parmesan cheese. Very, very simple. But you do need a fairly generous knob of butter. It goes in the pan. And as soon as my butter is pretty much melted, I'll add a couple of leaves of sage and mix everything together. And I'll put the lid on, turn the temperature down on as low as it can go, and I'll wait until my pasta is ready. We're nearly ready, and I'm going to dress my slices of pumpkin from earlier. Literally, just a little olive oil now that they've been cooked on top, nothing fancy. And I've got some rosemary here, which I will just be sprinkling on top. Again, nothing fancy. My pasta is cooked, and I'm going to remove it into my pan with the butter. And do not worry if you carry some water with you, because we will need to finish cooking it in there. And give everything a good old mix. Oh, some lovely smell coming up.
Definitely.
And literally 1 minute, that'll be enough. And I'll remove it. Parmesan cheese. Be quite generous, as this is a key ingredient in this recipe as well. So I'll put 3 handfuls. And before I serve it, I'll get another couple of leaves of sage, or maybe 4 little ones. And I will mix it again. Just like any other herbs I use when I cook, basil or parsley, when it's raw, releases a tremendous amount of flavor. And I start my dish with my sliced pumpkin, so that goes in the middle. And I start filling it with my more elegant ones. Actually, we were concerned, but look, they are all in one piece. None of them broke. Here's another one. And I've been searching for a round one as well, so we got a full combination. There it is. I'll put him in here.
I can see more cheese coming on.
You'll be right. Just a tiny little sprinkle of Parmesan at the very top, and we're done.
No, we're not. Look what he's after.
Yeah, I'm actually after some sage there, just to garnish it really. That's wonderful. Let's have a look at the inside of one. Ooh. Nice and colourful. Oh, it's divine. Very earthy, full of flavors and absolutely delicious. Thank you very much, George. It's delicious, honestly. Well, hopefully you have enjoyed me making George and telling you a little bit about Giorgino. And I would be really interested to see if you do make it and download the template, of course. And as always, thank you for watching, and buon appetito and happy Halloween.